Okay, so welcome everyone. The idea here is that we're here for a orientation into candidacy. Now, for what we've begun as an initiative at UTSA is to kind of enable more cohorting of doctoral students, because we understand that in the pursuit of the terminal degree, the journey is definitely a long individual one, but at the same time, we want you all to be completely aware that there is a cohort of other students who are kind of on this journey at the same time as you on UTSA's campuses. So it makes a lot of sense to kind of create the maximum opportunities for collisions between these cohorts so y'all can trade best practices and kind of feel the sense of community more as you undertake this journey. With that in mind, this year we've begun orientations to introduce people to all the opportunities that we have on campus, both through the graduate school as well as through other partners and programs and divisions on campus, specifically geared at doctoral students and supporting their journeys along their academic trail to the PhD. So we've already done dissertation and launch cohort orientations. And once I show you the next picture, it's going to make that clear for you as to why there is a candidacy orientation. So the concept is after year one in your doctoral program, till you actually take your qualifying exam and become a candidate, that is basically the phase of candidacy as we're defining it. So the very first year you enter a PhD program, you're in the launch cohort, and each of you year two onwards till the minute you kind of defend your qualifying exam are in the candidacy cohort. And once you're a candidate, you're in the dissertation cohort so that you're making your way towards dissertation. Since we started it this year, we're trying to do a catch-all and invite everybody we think is beyond year one, who we don't know if they've completed their candidacy or not, into these online and in-person meetings. Yesterday, we had an excellent, successful in-person meeting where we could answer a lot of questions and make that possible. And today's meeting is really to make sure that we know that there are experiments or studies or other things already planned. So in the most unintrusive way possible, enable y'all to actually have the opportunity within this forum to kind of ask questions or clarify some of the processes that we have in place so that frequently asked questions can be addressed. So in each of these stages, there are some aspects that are requirements. There are some aspects that are initiatives that are present from the grad school to support you in the sense of awards or competitions or professional development activities. And we'll talk about each of those in a lot of detail. And there's a lot of training opportunities which you can use to add on to what you're already doing within your labs or working with your mentors or in the community or working by yourself. And all of that put together is going to make your experience in the doctoral program that much richer. So in terms of the requirements of stage 2 candidacy, which is what we're talking about, so just to define the term, initially you're kind of doing your program of study, taking care of the core curriculum aspects of your doctoral plan. All of those courses have now been mapped to degree work, so you should actually be able to see exactly what courses you've already taken and how they slot into the program of study for each of y'all's programs, because there's quite a few differences across the board in terms of credit hours or what you're doing. But after that first year, what you're mainly doing is ensuring that the minimum core requirements of your program of study are done. You have a qualifying exam, which may or may not be the same as your proposal. Some programs have it all merged into one thing. Some programs have different aspects. There are programs that have qualifying exams as early as the first semester in the PhD program. So, you know, some of these times are a little more program specific, but in general, the forms that are required are an interim program of study, because that tells you, and you can look this up on DegreeWorks as well as the link to all of these forms on the graduate school website is right there at the bottom of the slide. So you should be able to click that and navigate straight to it. These are the 5 forms that you submit and you become a candidate, right? So your qualifying exam is done. You have a qualifying exam committee that signs off on that. Sometimes in addition to your proposal committee, the qualifying exam committee might have just the academic program people, or there might be overlap between the two. They are the ones who certify that you meet the training and educational preparation required to undertake your research activities, right? The proposal, which, like I said, might be something completely different from the qualifying exam or the exact same thing. The proposal is where you define to your committee what you propose to do for your body of work for your doctoral research. So the proposal committee almost is coming to some sort of a compact with each of the students in terms of agreeing upon what the quantum of work is that you will be judged on in terms of graduation. In terms of your application for candidacy, that's the form that gets everybody's signatures. Your dissertation committee is those people who will continue to guide and mentor you as a committee towards your dissertation defense. And that's the formation of this committee. And you're expected to have regular meetings once you're a candidate with this committee as they assist you in your journey forward. So in terms of preparing for your application for candidacy, or essentially you've already picked an advisor and a project at this point if you're in this meeting. You determine the composition of the committee, usually in conjunction with your advisors and mentors. So when I say advisor here, I mean your faculty mentor who's guiding your research or your PhD project. And the determination of the committee in conjunction with them is because you really want your committee to be supportive and constructive, and they really are the ones who will help you navigate that system. You write a proposal that defines what you're going to do for your doctoral work. We'll talk about graduate school fellowships and awards that you can apply for, meaning incentives that the graduate school provides for fellowships and awards you apply for federally. But this proposal that you write could technically be used as the research plan for those awards. So, definitely think about all the things we talk about in today's presentation and how you can use the same thing for multiple outcomes. So essentially, the proposal then allows you to get through the qualifying exam stage, and then you become a candidate. Yes. Now, building these mentor-mentee partnerships is done through individual development plans. Some of you are doing this already, and they're developed in conjunction with the mentors, and these become your IDP as your annual reviews that you're doing within your programs, right? And how that typically works is there's a student and the research mentor. The advisor is your GAR in this case, and the students and the mentor usually discuss their goals and opportunities so that there's a professional development plan that's established on an individual basis between the student and the mentor. There's currently a question on the chats. A couple of these questions are about people who are having their dissertations on their 27th and why this is mandatory, because your candidacy forms might not be on record, or you might not have attended the dissertation one, but please take from the presentation what you will, and you can absolutely let us know in your comments when you do the surveys at the end. But no, if you have a dissertation on the 27th, please go focus on it, very honestly. In terms of discussing goals and opportunities, allows you to then identify what sort of opportunities you should be pursuing at different stages during your doctoral journey. You typically share this IDP with your mentor, and then there's feedback mechanisms built into it. And then a committee at the program level also sees it and files it away. So year to year, you can kind of track your own progress, get feedback based on what other things you might be pursuing. And it asks questions that make you think in an active, participating manner to take agency of your own doctoral journey. In terms of what is available institutionally to support some of these things, the graduate school and libraries offer a lot of support for technical writing on a continuous rolling basis. The Graduate School Appreciation Week happens in April, and we definitely appreciate our graduate and doctoral students. The graduate school has professional development awards. There are mini grants. There are grant challenges where there are transdisciplinary teams that you can set up through Slack channels. And some of these QR codes will appear later in this presentation to talk about things you could take advantage of. There's travel funding for conferences, which is opened up on a semester basis, which you have to apply in advance, but the graduate school does support up to $750 in terms of conference travel to where you're presenting abstracts or posters, etc. This is a great time to be building resumes. There's a lot of fellowship support. You can learn how to do communication through, for example, micro-credentials in terms of training specifically for public speaking and technical speaking, for example, to give presentations at technical conferences, right? There is a grad space. I don't know how many of y'all are aware of where the grad space is, but if you're standing in the Sombria at the steps, basically beak to beak with the Rowdy statue, you're kind of to your right in the MS building, you have the grad space on the first floor. And through there, you can kind of book a space for taking professional headshots or even to have meetings. There's facilities to print resumes and CVs as you prepare for maybe internship opportunities or fellowships, business cards, as well as print posters for some of these conferences, as long as you're giving them 7 days working heads up. Now, in terms of career transferable skill sets, a lot of us start thinking midway through our PhD journeys about exactly what we're going to do after we graduate. Things like creating a LinkedIn profile. For example, LinkedIn prioritizes its search results based on how long your profile's been around and active, which kind of allows you to grow your network and develop and hence rise to the top of searches. So there's nothing stopping you from creating a profile as early as possible. And there's a lot of training opportunities through the graduate school that allow you to gain micro-credentials. So these micro-credential badges are directly linked to your LinkedIn profile through an app called Credly. And if you click on this word right there, it's going to take you to the site where there's a bunch of micro-credentials available. These are in aspects like introduction to graduate school, maybe scientific and technical communication, maybe public speaking, professional development. There's specific badges for education, etc. So these are not required. These are trainings that are available. So it would be great to make the most of all the opportunities that are available to you as a UTSA student. And that's kind of what I wanted to make you all aware of. Just like LinkedIn, in terms of your educational profile, getting an ORC ID is required if you're submitting manuscripts to journals for publication, because it allows those manuscripts to then be identified or associated with a unique author. And similarly, a Google Scholar profile, which allows you to publicize your work in the best possible way. In terms of professional development activities, we have career pathways forums as well as well-being series that are done on a regular basis, on a weekly and monthly schedule basis. And the graduate school is going to have a calendar of events that are available for it. So just to talk about a few of these activities to kind of give you a glimpse of what this is going to be. The micro-credential badges that are relevant to this stage, to candidacy stage of your doctoral journey. There's 2 badges in the scientific conference collection. There's one in the first year collection. There's leadership and professionalism, communication, teamwork and collaboration, career builder badges, etc. Now, in some professions, some of these badges don't make a lot of sense. In others, they make a lot of sense. For example, if you are an engineer and you want to showcase that I'm actually really good at technical communication, so then gaining these badges allows you to double down on it. But if you already have 10 to 12 abstracts at scientific conferences, then having an abstract badge is not really going to change things a whole lot. So essentially be very selective and actively select exactly what makes sense for you on an individual basis, and they're available so you can pick and choose what you feel like doing. When you participate in the activities that the grad school conducts or the student success centers conduct, etc., a lot of those activities help you towards gaining these micro-credentials as well. So it's not a lot of extra work on top of that. In terms of having all of these resources available, we're kind of piloting having 0 credit hour Canvas courses that will show up in your profile. And you can basically have access to these as Canvas modules, for example, how communication is valuable to you or otherwise. What's the point of collecting the badges? Well, when you apply for jobs and things like that, in a lot of cases, there's HR screening. And they definitely take badges into account to kind of get a good feel for people's activities that they did while in school. Like I said, they may not be relevant to everyone, and definitely all badges are not relevant to anyone. So my point is, there is a wide collection of almost, I believe, about 90 badges or so. So the idea is not to collect all of them. The idea is, if you feel like you want to strengthen something in one aspect and show that you have a certain skill, this is one way to demonstrate that. That's the best way to answer that question. Okay. So in terms of navigating your career inside and outside the classroom, in a lot of ways, this is an informational orientation session in order to kind of make y'all aware of all of that. So if y'all have been teaching assistants or will be, there is a teaching assistant academy that you will be part of. There are career pathways guest series as well as national perspectives guest series. The career pathways is more about junior to mid-career people from your programs who've kind of gone out and tracked very different paths. And when I say different from academia, for example. The national perspectives guest series is people who are leaders in your field or from your degree background at the national level, who can then give a perspective of how they tracked or designed their own careers, and in that sense kind of made their way towards it. And these are they rotate from college to college, so they're fairly program and college specific as they rotate through. And these are held, and there's going to be announcements on it, as well as they'll be put on the graduate school calendar, so please look out for that. There are the 3-minute thesis is a great way to communicate the crux of your own dissertation work in 3 minutes in reasonably layman's terms to a broad audience with one non-dynamic, meaning static PowerPoint slide, right? So this is a great way to learn how to market what you're doing in a way that the general public understands. And it's a great way to hone your communication skills as well, to kind of get down to the essence of it and be really clear about it. Some of the examples of awards that the graduate school supports through incentives to students who apply to them, as well as to their mentors as they apply for these awards, are the NSF GRFPs, the NIH F31 Awards, the Ford Foundation, the DoD SMART, and the ND SEG Awards. All of these have one thing in common, and any other awards that meet these criteria would also be supported by an incentive program. The awards should support at least 3 years at or higher of a stipend level than your program has right now, and full tuition, right? So if they support that, and these are all awards to the students, not only do they look spectacular on your CVs because it shows that you're nationally competitive and you were recognized out of a peer cohort, and UTSA is fairly successful at getting these awards on an annual basis. Those students also then get the benefit of having an incentive just for submitting or applying to the award. Now, obviously, each of these awards has unique criteria for qualification, so please look into that before you apply. Now, in terms of career pathways, usually the 4 pathways that people take after terminal degrees are industry or commercial work, academia, education, research lumped into one. There's government, military, and nonprofit. And then there's entrepreneurship, consultancy, which is typically where that's seen, where you're kind of an individual contributor, essentially, or a sole proprietorship. So one of the examples of these career panels that was held in the humanities is humanities careers outside of academia. 2 of the panelists were UTSA grads. One of them is UTSA faculty, but they work as broadly as from an environmental social science background at the Field Museum in Chicago, or as a White House analyst on Bulletin Intelligence, or a co-founder for a consulting firm. So they kind of can tell you how they took these career paths, more importantly, what they did to make themselves better suited to land these positions, and exactly how that networking happened, etc. So it's great to participate in these or attend to kind of get their insight into those activities. The 3-minute thesis is a competition where we basically, like I said, talk about or showcase your scholarly work in 3 minutes or less. And it's really about communicating to a broad audience. We just had this year's competition about a month ago, and it was a great success. And now the representative who won at UTSA is going to go to the national phase of that competition. In terms of doctoral student support, we also have a well-being series where there are general sessions and self-care sessions. There's stress management tips and table discussions, meeting the great ambassadors, who let the dogs out, where there's therapy dogs that visit. Most of these are held in the grad space. Some events are sometimes held at the downtown campus. So we kind of do rotate them around a little bit, but really the grad school calendar is the best place to look at this. First Fridays is an in-person event. And trivia games is a virtual one. There's also other social events that are organized from time to time. And really the objective here is to build a sense of community, to see who else is going through the same journey that you are all undertaking right now. In terms of the professional skills series, the Student Success Center, for example, has public speaking, leadership, and communication workshops. Participating in these workshops, for example, gets you a badge. So my point is, it's not like there's a lot of additional work. If you think one of these is useful to you, you can essentially not only participate in it and gain use from it, but also then display that you did participate in it, right? So it's a way to get accountability, I guess. The Career Pathways guest speaker series that we were talking about have alumni career stories, panels, as well as national perspectives. The Student Success Center also does a course on project management. The graduate school and the libraries work together to talk about different citation styles and exactly how to use them, as well as specifically help with EndNote, as well as finding references and how exactly literature searches are done, or any other sort of bibliometric analysis you might be interested in. So at the end of all of this, we essentially want to acknowledge that you all have done this. So once you're finished with candidacy and you are a candidate, there's a journal and a pen from the grad school. That way, write your dissertation. In terms of these professional and career development things, we really want to focus on skill enhancement, the ability to form networks. For example, you can start enriching your LinkedIn profile by adding all of these people you meet at the panels that are relevant to your discipline. Ask them questions. And at that point, you can grow your professional network. That's what these opportunities are created for. So it's a great way to leverage that. Similarly, just as we're talking to students about training, we absolutely have also instituted mandatory training for faculty to become better mentors. So the students are also going to have an opportunity to learn about mentoring junior researchers in the lab, maybe undergraduate students or high school students, etc. And then there's one-on-one career support that's available, both through coordinators from the graduate school that are in each of your colleges, as well as through the graduate school itself and through student success. Now, if you're really set on focusing on teaching or teaching as research or focusing on education across disciplines, UTSA is now a member of and has a site for CERTL, which is the Center for Integration of Research, Teaching, and Learning. And through that program, we have certifications for being an associate, where there's introduction to teaching and coursework, excuse me, as a practitioner, where you talk about how you conduct teaching as research and implement a CERTL project, and as a scholar, which might be a little more advanced, maybe at the postdoctoral level or the faculty level. Specifically talking about funding opportunities, you have graduate student professional development or travel awards up to $750 to support travel to conferences. The graduate school fellowship incentive, which was to apply to those grants I was talking about. And usually you inform the graduate school. And in the case of the fellowship incentive program, you also inform the associate dean for graduate studies at your college. And they send us the list for giving out those awards. These are not retroactive. So when you plan on submitting something, at least a few weeks ahead of that deadline, you need to let them know. The current transdisciplinary team challenge is based on, well, the past projects have focused on COVID-19, social justice, water, and conflict. This year's topic has now been announced. I'm totally blanking on it right now, but the QR code will take you right there. And you can form teams to go after taking that. Now, in terms of community building and services, we talked about the grad space. There's Roadrunner Days. There's a Graduate Student Appreciation Week that, like I said, runs from April 1st to 5th. There's First Fridays, as well as downtown campus socials. So at this point, that kind of completes my presentation. So I'll definitely take questions for a little bit, and then y'all can stick around. But please scan the QR code and complete the survey. We'd love to know what you're thinking or what your questions were. And the confirmation page then allows you to claim graduate school swag as well. But yeah, Questions. To confirm, you cannot take 6 dissertation hours in one semester, and they have to be in fall and spring and not summer. I'm actually not sure of that, but let me check on it and get back to you. Any further questions? Feel free to type or raise your hand or whatever you want to do. So we can actually get you an answer to that. Can you, because it shows up on this as anonymous attendee, can you tell us who you are so we can get you an answer back? Survey as a link. Good question. Let me actually see if I can do that. I should be able to. Got it. Is it still being shared? I'm not sure it's being shared. Give me one second. I am screen sharing, so you can see it. No, Alex, you're very welcome at the presentation, but yes, because we really wanted to inform everybody of what's going on. So some of you are potentially in this presentation, although you're much further along, which is not a bad thing, right? We kind of want you all to know about everything that's available. And I do apologize to the person who's completing their dissertation on the 27th, but congratulations to you. But for everybody else, it doesn't really matter because y'all are still, all of these things are still accessible to you. So if anything is interesting, please go for it. That's kind of what I'm trying to get. And Robin, that's the 6 dissertation credit hour question, right? I'm guessing that's the yes. Okay. Yeah, perfect. Any other questions? Thank you all for your patience. I would much rather see you all in person, but I understand. I mean, it really is more interactive, and we definitely want to build a sense of community. And we're doing this outreach specifically for that. We don't want grad students and doctoral students to feel like you're on campus in programs that are longer than a year or 2 years, and you still don't really know the other people who are on campus, although you keep seeing the same people trying to get coffee at the Starbucks and the Sombria all the time. So the point is, we really do encourage people to show up. And while there are large blocks of time, they usually, it's not like we intend to hold you for 2 hours. But no, we also understand that you have other things that are going on. So the idea is not to make them mandatory in that sense, but we really want you all to know what the graduate school is doing. And exactly, I mean, there's a question about not having gotten any outreach. Well, we're trying to reach out directly. Typically, the outreach happens through the colleges and the programs and the graduate coordinators, and we're trying to make sure that there's multiple channels now. Because I can tell you, I don't read every word of every email. Probably shouldn't have said that on something being recorded. But the point is, to build that sense of community, please understand that the channels are open for communication, and where you claim your graduate school swag is at the graduate school by showing up at their office, which is in the GSR on the 2nd floor. Or at the grad space. Make an appointment. Didn't you learn that today? Okay. Any other questions? Last chance. Okay. I unfortunately have to run, but I think the channel will stay open a little longer for further questions and stuff like that. It really was a pleasure. Even if half of you suddenly turn into anonymous attendees, I will take that. So yeah, I have a feeling I gave the wrong answer to one of those questions, but yeah, y'all are getting better answers right now. There we go. Thank you all. And you can stay online if you have further questions. Is the orientation finished? Yes, Shannon. Thank you very much. The orientation is actually done. It's pretty fast. We wanted the recording to go up as well, so I tried to keep it around 30 minutes or so. The orientation part is done.